Alright, welcome back, folks. We're talking again about Doctor Who ratings. Always plenty to talk about and consider. This article is from tvzoneuk.com. Ratings. Doctor Who receives boost for third episode, The Well. In the new series, audiences join the Doctor Ncuti Gatwa and Belinda Chandra, Varada Sethu, on an epic quest to get Belinda back to Earth. But a mysterious force is stopping their return, and the time-travelling TARDIS team must face great dangers, ferocious enemies, and wilder terrors than ever before. Doctor Who continued on BBC One on Saturday 26th of April, that was last night, with The Well, which scored overnight audience of 1.9 million. The consolidated rating, which will include iPlayer, devices and catch-up, will be released 5th of May. So let's give this boost some context. Yes, the third episode of this season did have higher overnight ratings than the previous episode. But that's not saying very much. As you know, the previous season had the 3 lowest rated episodes in the history of the entire Doctor Who franchise, going back 60 years. Until that record was broken by the first episode of this season, The Robot Revolution, with an incredibly low overnight rating of just 2 million. 1 week later, episode 2, which was last week's episode, was called Lux. It experienced a ratings nosedive with an overnight rating of 1.58 million, which is now the new lowest rated episode ever. Again, these are pre-consolidated figures. Now we have episode 3, The Well, which, although has higher viewing figures than episode 2, its ratings are still lower than The Robot Revolution. So it's the second lowest rated episode of the season. Put it another way, The Well has the second lowest overnight ratings in the history of the franchise. So although it's a marginal increase over episode 2, it's not exactly what I'd call much of a boost. Ultimately, it's more like a dead cat bounce. In finance, a dead cat bounce refers to a minor recovery in the midst of an overall downward trend. I would use that term here as well. It's a slight uptick compared to a previous trough, but it's still lower than where the show used to be. So the graph looks something like this, where episode 3 looks like a success only by comparison to the absolute rock bottom crater of episode 2's ratings. But episode 3 is still slightly lower than episode 1 by about 100,000 viewers or so. And when episode 1 aired, that was already an all-time overnight low in ratings. Here's another article on this subject from the radiotimes.com. Doctor Who's overnight ratings confirmed. Figures bounce back with The Well. Season 15 returned to BBC One with episode 3 titled The Well on Saturday. It says, Series 15 of Doctor Who saw a substantial bounce in the overnight ratings for the third episode, rebounding from last week's series low. Later in the article it says, The Well aired on BBC One at 6:50 p.m. on Saturday 26th of April and received an overnight rating of 1.9 million viewers. That's a huge bump from last week's episode Lux, which drew only 1.58 million viewers, marking the lowest overnight viewership rating in the show's history. Okay, let's not get too carried away here when using terms like huge bump, bounce back, and rebounding. The ratings are still on the floor. Yes, the overnight ratings for The Well are higher than Lux, but The Well is still the second lowest rated episode in the 60-year history of Doctor Who. The Well's overnight ratings are hardly anything to celebrate, and it's all relative to what you're comparing it to anyway. If you compare The Well's ratings to those of past seasons, it's a total disaster. Even just comparing it to last season, it's not good. This is far worse than the Chibnall-Whittaker era, which was bad enough as it was. Put it another way, if The Well had aired before Lux and gotten this 1.9 million rating, it would be considered the lowest rated episode ever at the time of airing, because it was a decline when compared to The Robot Revolution. As it stands, last week's Lux remains the episode with the lowest overnight ratings, and The Well now stands in second place. Not exactly an achievement worthy of acknowledgement, in my opinion. So that's the absolute state of this show as it stands. And I have to say, I do expect the odd, slight peak among ever greater troughs throughout the rest of this season. There are still 5 episodes left, 5 episodes to go. So the question becomes, just how low will this show's ratings go during the rest of this season? I'll leave that for the comments section below. I'm looking forward to your thoughts as always. Thanks very much for watching, guys. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and of course hit that notification bell to be notified of future updates on the channel. Hit that like button, share this video because it does help with all the algorithm stuff and discovery and everything. Take care and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.